We all have moments where we feel guilty, but sometimes that guilt can be crippling. Is guilt holding you back from living your best life? Guilt is a complex emotion that can be hard to shake. It can make you feel bad about yourself and your actions, and it can lead to compulsive eating. However, guilt can be overcome with some simple techniques. It's time to stop feeling guilty. Here are 9 tips to help you overcome guilt and set yourself free. Number 9, acknowledge it exists. It can be tough to face up to your guilt, especially if you know that you've done something wrong. However, it's important to remember that guilt is a natural human emotion and there's no need to fight against it. Rather, simply be honest with yourself and accept that you're responsible for the wrongdoing. Once you acknowledge your guilt, you'll be able to start dealing with it in a more effective way. This might involve seeking forgiveness for those whom you've hurt or making restitution where possible. Or even accept that the damage has been done and there's nothing further that you can do about it. Remembering what happened and why will help prevent similar mistakes from happening again in the future. Learn from your mistakes. Number 8, accept what happened. Guilt is a natural human emotion that can be quite destructive if you allow it to linger. However, by understanding how guilt works and accepting what actually happened, you can move on from the experience more quickly. Once forgiveness has been granted either from yourself or the person you've wronged, then your focus should shift towards creating a positive future. Something that was once undoable becomes possible with enough effort and resilience. By taking these steps, you can finally start living in the present without being weighed down by your past mistakes. Number 7, practice self-forgiveness. To manage guilt more effectively, start by focusing on the present. When you catch yourself feeling guilty, remind yourself that it is only natural for your feelings to be intense at first. Write down what happened and why you're feeling this way so that you have an opportunity to reflect on them later. Next, practice self-forgiveness by forgiving yourself for your mistakes. After all, nobody else can make you feel better but yourself. Remember, guilt is a sign of care. Try not to ignore it. Number 6, realize it's okay to have needs. It's all good. You're not a bad person for having needs. In fact, it's quite natural to need things from time to time. Sure, some people might think of needs as negative, but that really couldn't be any further from the truth. It only becomes destructive if you become a narcissist and focus on yourself 100% of the time. When you can, talk to your friends and family about your struggles. They might be able to offer some helpful advice on how best to break the cycle of guilt. Number 5, understand what you can control. Guilt is arguably one of the most powerful of the negative emotions that we have, and it can become quite overwhelming at times. However, by understanding what you can control and focusing on your own self-esteem, it can become a lot easier to deal with. Start by making a list of things you have achieved that were good for yourself, whether this was hitting your targets or simply managing stress better. It's important to remember that no matter how bad something might seem right now, that there will always be room for improvement. Once you start celebrating your successes instead of dwelling on the bad times, guilt will gradually fade away and life will become more manageable again. Do you have any tips for overcoming guilt? Put them in the comments below and subscribe to ThinkWire. Now back to the video. Number 4, put things in perspective. Mistakes make us feel guilty and regretful. Try to take things one step at a time and focus on things that you've done that were positive. This will help you avoid feeling overwhelmed by your past mistakes or fretting about what might have happened if only things were different. Dwelling on negative thoughts only makes the situation worse. In fact, research has shown that guilt causes us to behave in ways that makes matters even worse, like self-loathing. Try to remind yourself why making these particular mistakes was so detrimental for you. Then make amends for them as quickly as possible. After all, dwelling on negative emotions doesn't do anybody any good. Number 3, acknowledge that perfection doesn't exist. Perfectionism is a real problem and it's not healthy. Trying to do everything perfectly often leads to feelings of guilt, stress, and depression. It's important to accept that perfectionism doesn't exist in the world and that there will always be room for improvement. Set boundaries so you don't feel overwhelmed by your goals or burdened with too much responsibility. Remember, you are capable of achieving great things. Just take small steps toward your dreams every day. And when you do achieve success, celebrate it. but don't forget to give yourself some compassion too. Number 2, process with a trusted friend or mentor. Forgiving yourself can be a challenging process, which is why it's important to have someone to help guide you along the way. By talking with a trusted friend or mentor, you can get their input on your mistakes, habits, and goals. Together, you can figure out a realistic and achievable action plan that will support your overall emotional and mental health. Taking action one step at a time makes things much easier, allowing you to stay on track even when things are tough. Number 1, accept that it's totally cool to take care of your own needs. It's perfectly normal to need some time away from work and the rest of your responsibilities once in a while. Self-care is key for maintaining mental balance, emotional well-being, and physical health. Here are a couple of reasons why taking care of yourself is crucial. Self-imposed pressure creates stress. Try not to put too much weight on things that don't matter so much to you. Be realistic about your capabilities and take things one step at a time. Guilt clouds your judgment. Instead of seeing problems as obstacles blocking your way, see them as learning opportunities. Taking care of yourself gives you clarity of mind. This enables good decision-making, which benefits both you and those around you. Guilt is a powerful emotion that can affect our mental and emotional health. By learning about the different types of guilt and how to stop feeling guilty, you can start to overcome this negative feeling.